Even as a child, you still feel it. You still know. I believe as a child, we just don't know what to do. Hey there, my friends. I'm Super Sid, the business shaman, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Life Coach Launch School. And in this video, we're going to be talking about a killer when it comes to self-healing, and specifically what can hold someone back, like it held me back on my self-healing journey around this idea of what is childhood trauma. So specifically, what is childhood trauma? We're going to cover that in this video today. We're going to talk about how it connects to our RISE method and how specifically we help get over childhood trauma. And ultimately in this video, I'm going to break down a specific scenario that happened with me, part of my childhood trauma, and how I was able to not only get over it using the RISE method, but how I was able to specifically use a specific emotion that I gained from that childhood trauma to flip it and ultimately use it on my everyday life in my self-healing journey to feel better, feel happier, and ultimately go out there and manifest anything and everything that I want. Without any further ado, let's dive in. Growing up, I absolutely loved baseball. Baseball was an obsession of mine. In fact, my first word wasn't mama or dada, it was ball. And ultimately, at a very young age, there are pictures of me still in the hospital where I have a glove and I have a hat, and ultimately it was just destined that I was going to play baseball. Growing up, though, I absolutely loved the game. I grew up in a small town in eastern Kentucky. And in that small town, I developed a close-knit group of friends that grew up together playing baseball. There was about 12 of us, and as we grew up together, we started playing baseball at a very young age as a team, like around 5 years old. And ultimately, on this team, we went out and we played baseball every single day. In fact, playing baseball became such an obsession, just playing the game wasn't enough for me. At that young age, I developed going and studying the stats of the professional players. I used to collect baseball cards because back then we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have social media, right? We barely had the internet. So, and we didn't really even have the internet in some cases the way that we do now. So ultimately, at that young age, I had specific and different ways that I obsessed over the game. If I walked around with a glove on my hand, I always had a baseball with me, and ultimately this became something that I loved, something that I could sink my teeth into and ultimately use to not only help me grow up, but help me become an adult and learn the values that I was going to need to learn as a child. And I did that. But then all of a sudden, everything changed. We moved. And at 12 years old, we moved to an unknown place on the opposite side of the state, an hour and a half away, and I was ripped apart from everything that I knew, and specifically this game that I loved and the people that I loved playing with. During this time, I didn't have a team. I just was throwing my base. I remember I used to throw the ball up against the house. And at that time, I didn't know I was going through it yet, but I was specifically going through a depression and a sadness around what I had just lost. I had just turned 12 years old. I had no idea really what was going on, but I do remember that time that I left Eastern Kentucky and moved, and we were about to hop in that truck. And I remember standing on the back end of my old house on that deck, and even at 12 years old, literally crying as I was telling my best friend Andy at the time that I had to move. See, Andy and I had played baseball, and that was what had tied us together most of our lives. And literally just to pack up and just move away to an unknown place was, I knew even at 12 years old, a very scary thing, and something that was going to change not only my life, but my baseball and everything that I had in my life at the time was going to change. When we moved and I had no team, I had to learn how to just play by myself and hope for the best. A couple months after we moved, one of our neighbors invited us to a baseball game. I went just because, hey, it's other kids playing a sport that I love. Ironically enough, one of the teams was down a player. So I was asked to come in and ultimately fill in the gap during that baseball game. And from what I remember, I did okay. I had multiple hits during the game, and at playing center field in sweats, in a t-shirt because I didn't have my uniform, and ultimately using someone else's catcher's mitt, right? Because I didn't have my glove, I was able to not only make multiple plays in center field, but actually throw someone out at home. I absolutely loved it. And I still carried that love for the game even when I was at that field that day. But then ironically enough, there was an AAU coach that was there, and they recruited me to play for the team. And when I got recruited to play for that team and we jumped for the chance, everything changed again. I wasn't enjoying baseball anymore because all of a sudden baseball became a chore. It became something that I was judged on very, very quickly. It wasn't something that I could just go out and enjoy and get better at and just enjoy getting better at. It was something that I had somebody looming over me 24/7, right? No matter what I did, there was always a critique, always a, you can do better this way. Because of this, baseball just didn't become fun anymore because I couldn't just go enjoy playing. I had to constantly worry about what I did wrong. And through this, I found out very, very early at a very young age that there was two things that you could chase after. And as I got older, I really redefined what this was. When we're going after anything, we're either chasing after pleasure or we're running away from pain. And ultimately, when I was younger, I used to chase after the pleasure of just playing ball. I just wanted to play ball and have fun and learn and discover and get better and win more and all that stuff that came along with that. And it was fun because I would chase after pleasure each day. But when I moved and baseball changed to me, it went from chasing after pleasure to running from pain. I would get out of practices or I'd get out of games and it would literally just be a, whew, well, I had an okay enough game that they're not gonna harp on me too bad. They're not gonna tell me I didn't do too good because I did okay. And when baseball became that for me, everything around it changed. I didn't even want to look at the game anymore. And ultimately, after 5 years of not having fun playing baseball and going from a winning team to 5 straight years on losing teams without connecting with really anybody on my team because I was 3 to 4 years younger on everybody, because I was always told, hey Sid, you can play with the older guys, you can get better doing that. I didn't enjoy that. It wasn't fun for me. I wasn't able to really connect with the players, and ultimately I didn't have any friends on the team. So I was by myself and ultimately critiqued every single time I put on a glove and every single time I played a game. It just wasn't any fun. So I quit. And something that I loved so much and put so much of those first 15 years of my life into, I decided one day it just wasn't worth it. And I walked away. And looking back, I found that that specific pattern followed suit for many years. I might fall in love with something, but then I would soon come to hate it for whatever reason. And I was in this constant cycle of losing and unhappy and frustrated. And you could never connect the dots at why this kept happening. And what I was finding was that it was happening because of the childhood trauma that I'd walked through. As we're going out there and putting out brand new videos each and every week, helping more people on their self-healing journey feel better and ultimately manifest anything and everything that it is that they want. Make sure to click that button below and subscribe. Childhood trauma is a crazy thing because I feel like as a child, we're learning, there's a lot of things that are happening that we honestly just don't understand. And having people that are next to us that can really help guide us through that is very, very important. And I'm not saying that I didn't have parents that loved me or did their best, but I'm saying that I honestly just don't know if the people that were around me understood me well enough to help me through that part. And because I was standing alone and because this kept happening and this loop kept happening, I truly believe that I got caught in this loop of just not having fun, not going out there and enjoying this game anymore, which ultimately became, like I said, something that ultimately kind of became part of my demon and something that ultimately I used to carry around. There's a lot of people out there right now that had stuff that happened in their life. Tiffany had multiple things that happened in her life that she talks about on this channel, being left on the side of the street, abuse that she had growing up. And ultimately, right, like all of that stuff we carry along with us until it gets healed. For me, I carried this along with me for 20 years. And you could tell. I used to get triggered a lot more. I used to be a lot less happy. I used to walk around with this mad look on my face all the time, and I had no idea. And I relate some of what happened not only to this childhood event, but to multiple childhood events that all replicated the same thing. A constant loop of unhappiness, of failure, of something that I didn't understand. Childhood trauma can be something that can hold us back if we continue to carry it. And it's something that ultimately we carry along with us whether we want to or not. And those emotions that we typically get triggered on, those emotions usually are tied back to the childhood trauma. So Sid, how did I get over childhood trauma? How did I go out there and use this childhood trauma to actually help me on my self-healing journey? Help me right now and use every single day. Well, recently I got into cycling about 4 months ago. And when I got into cycling, I remember thinking initially, I was like, I need to get into something, whether that's lifting weights or whether that's doing exercise every day, but I wanted to get into actually some sort of sport. One of our neighbor actually cycled, and I would see him going out and cycling almost on a daily basis. And it just looked like so much fun. You're on a bike, you're on 2 wheels. You literally just feel like you're flying around, your hair through the air, all that stuff, right? And I was like, that looks like fun. I want to try it. So I remember, luckily he had 2 bikes, and he was like, if you want to try it, this is what you need to do. Took me to the bike store and got me all this stuff, and I got ready to go out there and cycle. And within the first mile, I was addicted. And I remember just that addiction tying back to the way I used to feel when I played baseball, before the pressure. And I was able to get into cycling, and just in a couple of months in, I started feeling similar emotions that I used to have. But this was before the expectation. This was before the, you have to be this good, you have to have a good game, it's all this pressure. It was just go out there and have fun. And ultimately I was able to find that this effortless joy that I carried around, just to go out there and do something that I actually, 1, enjoyed to do, and 2, enjoyed getting better at. Enjoyed using to figure out what I was doing wrong in life, or used to think through things that were happening in life, or simply just used to be outside on a bike on 2 wheels for hours a day. And I was able to connect that effortless joy with what I used to carry, that helped me enjoy so much. When I was in ayahuasca, and I did ayahuasca for the first time, which was a video on this channel talking about that experience, one of the things that I remember hearing, one of the voices that I remember hearing during my ayahuasca experience was, fly like an eagle, my son. You're meant to fly like an eagle. And I remember directly after hearing that voice, one of the things that I heard was that I heard that this is why you like cycling so much, because you feel like you're flying. Having that experience, not only in ayahuasca, but then tying back to the effortless joy, right, that cycling brought me, that I used to have, helped me take this effortless joy and just chase after it again. Chase after it every day. This effortless joy was what helped open up, right, the happiness that I was so much searching for. Every time I'm on that bike, it doesn't matter if I'm doing 15, 20 miles, or if I'm doing 50 or 60. When I get back and I only got a couple miles left, there's a spot coming right back up to the house that I always have to hop back on. And I remember I look up and there's just this sea of mountains. This sea of the Smoky Mountains. And every time I look up, it brings that joy, that effortless joy back to me. I feel like a kid again. Chasing after new milestones on my bike, or chasing after, right, whatever it is, whatever stat that I'm chasing after on my bike. And it brings back that feeling and emotion that carried me through as a child. Now I'm able to take that feeling and emotion, I'm able to take the lessons that I learned on my bike, even through the growth that I have on my bike, through the growth of my fitness, and I'm able to parallel that with everyday life. I'm able to parallel that with things we do in our business. Being able to parallel and anchor back these certain things has helped me accelerate my life. And has also helped Tiffany accelerate her life following that specific method. Fixing our inner child wounds comes into the RISE method, because ultimately, right, these things we carry along with us. Because these wounds and this trauma happened before our brains were even fully developed a lot of times, before the age of 7. And it started happening for me at that age as well. By helping us fix these wounds, right, we're able to accelerate the process, take that next step in that RISE method. But ultimately, right, when it comes to being able to, these are the big things that usually we got to get over. When we're going over trauma, and we're healing trauma, we're healing things that happened, they're always happening from the past. And a lot of times they started happening, right, those loops started through experiences that we had as a child. So I implore anybody who's watching this video that wants to get rid of that inner childhood wounds, or those wounds that happened as a child, or that you believe is holding you back right now. The first thing that Tiffany gave me to help get over mine, even after I started cycling, the first thing that really, really helped me was recalibrating my nervous system. And it started with a 7-day nervous system reset that she gave me just a few months ago. And that 7-day nervous system reset was something that she had used, right, to recalibrate that nervous system, but ultimately gain more control of her life and help clear everything out, including those childhood wounds. So that with a clean slate, we could walk into a self-healing journey and begin to manifest anything that it is that we want. If you'd like that 7-day nervous system reset, we have it down here in the description below. It's absolutely free. You can download that those 7 days of exercises. You can do them over the next 7 days with hundreds of us in our community. And you can begin that self-healing journey of getting rid of those childhood wounds and stepping into a healing journey to change the reality of your life every single day. Don't forget, let's dare to heal so we can dare to lead, and ultimately dare to make an impact. We'll see you on the next video.